Welcome to Good Morning Akron, everyone. I'm your host, Sarah, and today I get to talk with Kaite Marshall. Kate, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Kate is a life coach,
Yes.
and she just has a passion for helping people who are always giving to not burn out and to be able to find balance in their life. So share with me a little bit about you first and how you got into this.
Yeah, so I did burn out hardcore when I was like 23, right? But I've been working at a nonprofit actually since then, teaching kids in after school and things like that. And I have two tiny little kids, and I started a business, and still trying to make time for my husband and everything. And the tools that I learned from this type of coaching, it's like focusing a lot on your thoughts. And just like all the options that we have, of like how we think about things, helped me so much to like not feel like I'm a hot mess, right? But like my brain doesn't have to feel like such a hot mess all the time, right?
It doesn't. And if we're honest, we all are, right?
Right,
and so we all need those tools to be able to kind of pull ourselves down and ground ourselves.
Exactly, right. And so the tools that I learned of just like, okay, when something happens, like you get that text of like, okay, we need to talk, or like
and everybody's like,
right,
or like that actually brought me anxiety right now.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
And then, or like, where's my wallet, or where's my keys, right, and just having the tools in those moments to like, okay, what do I do, and how do I think about this in a way that like I can be on my own team. And not just like beat myself up constantly, right?
So Kate, I think that's actually a really good lead in. Why don't you share some of those tools? Let's pretend that I just got a text that did say that. That said, hey, we need to sit down, we need to have a conversation, you know, and that anxiety starts settling in. What would you say to me?
I would say separate out what are the facts and what are your thoughts about the facts. Right? That's good. Like step number one.
Yes.
And so like the facts are just the words in the text. That's it. Right?
Right.
And then you have all of this like interpretation, and the interpretation is what's making you feel anxious, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you like were like, oh, I totally know what this is going to be about, you wouldn't feel anxious.
Exactly.
Right? Because you're like, oh, this is going to be bad, and this is going to be, right? If it was like, oh, they probably need like my email address, right? You wouldn't feel anxious if it was like, oh yeah, I'll call them, right? If it was like, call me, right? Like,
exactly.
Right? So if you can get really clear about like,
separate.
What are the facts, and then like everything else is optional. Right? Like, I can decide that this is a catastrophe, or I can decide this means that they hate me, or I can decide that this means we're definitely breaking up, right? But,
so then how do you, once you separate that to the best of your ability, how do you then talk yourself off the ledge? How do you not take those emotions into your body, into your mind?
Yes. Well, that's one of the problems, actually, is we try to avoid having feelings in our bodies, or like don't notice that they're happening.
Okay.
And so
allow those feelings to come.
Notice the feelings to come. Right. Just like I think a lot of times we try to like feel our feelings in our brains of like, okay, I'm feeling anxious, and if I'm gonna like feel the feeling and allow it, it's like, then I'm just going to think all these anxious thoughts. And like, that doesn't actually help, right? It's turning off the thoughts. Like, I like to use the image of like, my daughter has one of those like playpens, right? That I'm like, we're just going to get in this like space where no thoughts are allowed. And it's just going to be the emotions of like, what does the emotion feel like in my body? Right? And like getting really specific and even creative to engage your brain of like, what color is this emotion, right? Like silly things like that, where it's like, okay, if I'm really gonna tune into how this emotion feels, I have to think about it like creatively. And if I'm really gonna turn off the thoughts that are causing the anxiety, then yeah, I have to have something else to think about, right? So I have some questions like that too, of just like, how can you like feel this feeling? What does it feel like? Is it a fast feeling? Is it a slow feeling? I love that. And so you are a life coach. So I feel like that term has maybe even been overused, super broad. Right.
And so go ahead and explain to someone who might not really understand what you do. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I do is I just post a lot of things on Facebook and Instagram of like, here's how to like be nice to yourself, basically, right? But yeah, my first thought of life coach is like on Gilmore Girls in Paris, like has a craft corner because her life coach said so, right? Or the like manifest your dreams, like that all sounds super impractical and I don't really know what you're talking about, right?
Right. I feel like that's maybe more of what we see on like social media is that kind of thing. So
right. Yeah, and I'm all about practicality. Like I said, I have a busy life that like if it's not actual steps I can incorporate into my life, it's not worth it.
I don't want it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do coaching sessions. I do one coaching session a week, like private coaching session, and then I have groups. And so, yeah, my main goal is to help people just beat themselves up less, right? Because if you are somebody who's busy, who's like a teacher or a nurse or a mom or a caregiver to elderly parents or any kind of role, even just so many people like working in Akron organizations, trying to make Akron a better place or working in nonprofits, right? You have high standards for yourself because you want to like do a good job and you care about the people that you're working with, and it can be really easy to just be really hard on yourself, which helps nothing.
No, and it doesn't. And I love that you said you are someone who you want those practical steps. You want to help people have those practical steps.
Yes.
So you are not, I think it's important to say and separate, like you are not a mental health professional.
Exactly.
You are not a licensed therapist. But you are someone that someone can go to that just needs practical steps to help them to, you know, move forward.
Yeah, and I say make your brain a nicer place to live.
Yes, exactly. I love that. Make your brain a nicer place to live. Like, not get stuck in their brain.
Yeah, I hate being stuck.
In the
100%.
cycle. Yes, we all know that cycle. You know, something like the text or whatever comes in, and the cycle begins, and you get stuck in that. And you can give people practical tools to help them get out of that, and I love that.
Yep, I have one course called Stop Spinning and one course called Stop Drowning because, it's so hard, right? Or like in December, I did like a Bully Buster bingo.
Okay.
So little thing of just like, here are 24 things on a bingo card of like, notice when your inner critic is being like,
when
notice
you're bullying yourself.
Exactly, right, yeah. So, a mental health person is like, we're going to renovate your house. And I'm like, we're just going to declutter your house, right? It's going to make it
give you
your
tools
house
in your toolbox.
Exactly.
That's great. Share with us, so you said you have those 2 classes. Are you still running those classes? Are you running different classes?
They're just available forever on my website. Yeah.
Great.
But the main ongoing thing is I have 2 different groups. One is like monthly coaching thing. That one's basically like subscribing to me on Instagram. It's $5 a month. It's no big deal. But I share like one tool every month.
Great. So if someone has a little bit of time, but they, they want to get a little bit of wisdom from you and what you've learned, they could do that.
Exactly. And then I have, so that's called the Gifty Gathering. And then I have one where it's 4 coaching sessions a month, and they get all the Gifty Gathering perks. But that one's called Doing Over Drowning because, like, you might keep drowning, but, like, if doing can come out on top of, like, I'm not getting stuck, I'm keeping going, then great, we're doing it.
I love that.
Yep.
And so people can find out more information about that one on your website as well?
Exactly. Yep. So my website has my Facebook and Instagram. You can sign up for my email list. And I also have like a weekly Tuesday text with just a great thought to keep in your brain and a link to my favorite thing I made last week.
Very cool. Yeah. Are these in-person classes? Are they online classes? What does that look like?
All online.
All online.
Because you don't need to figure out how to get someplace. Just meet me on Zoom and...
One less thing to do.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Very good.
Listen to it while you do the dishes.
So go ahead and share your website again, all of your social media accounts so people can find you.
Yep. It's all Katelyn Coaches, Katelyn. So Facebook is Katelyn Coaches, Instagram is Katelyn Coaches, website is KatelynCoaches.com. Just keeping it simple. Yep.
All right. And so those one-on-one sessions, you said you offer 1 a week. And is that something that is different from those classes? Is it just going to be kind of more focused in on that person? What would that look like if someone was like, I really feel like I need some extra help and I want to do the one-on-one?
Yeah, so the group coaching sessions basically are an individual session. It's just shared.
Okay.
Right? So an individual session, though, is like, yes, we're just you and me talking. If we record it, it would just be for your benefit. And it's just kind of like we're taking your brain and putting it over here and then like both looking at like what's going on here with like not judging it, just curiosity and compassion to figure out how to categorize the drama, right? So that it's more manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then those classes, you said they're like an individual coaching session, but it's spread out. Explain to me what that would look like.
Yeah, so the courses are actually, you can just like replay it, but they, the community coaching is like, okay, you want to get coached today? Great. And then we'll share the recording with everybody in the group because our brains all do the same things, right? Like everybody.
And then everyone learns from that person.
Exactly.
That day.
Yep. And everybody has the same kinds of brain drama and patterns that like if you're listening to someone else get coached, you still could hear like, oh my gosh, I did that the other day. And like now I know what I'm going to do next time when that pops up.
Absolutely. And that's why so even the little clips that you do on your social media can be so beneficial for so many people.
Exactly.
Because we do create some of those same patterns for sure.
Yeah. One person who follows me is like, I have gotten so much nicer to myself just from like reading your posts. So, like I actually took a nap this weekend instead of just powering through and like,
yes, I love that.
Being so mean to myself. So,
So that was a good tip right there. But let's share one more tip for those viewers out there watching right now.
Yeah.
What's a way they can be nice to themselves this week?
I think the question of just like, what am I making this mean about myself, right? Like we're interpreting that like if I get the text of like, hey, you didn't put the milk back in the fridge or something, it's like, I'm a terrible person. Like just noticing the times that you're interpreting facts to mean you're a terrible person when like maybe it doesn't mean that at all. Maybe you're just a human who like is forgetful sometimes.
Just made a mistake.
Yeah.
And interpreting those differently, maybe making a change so that you don't interpret it like that.
Right. Yeah. And not forcing yourself to like just say something you don't actually believe of like, I'm a wonderful person, right? If you're like, no, I actually suck, right? Of just like, okay, maybe I am doing okay as a person, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just toxic positivity
right.
to say like.
Sometimes coming to the middle ground is important too.
It's better than trying to reach for an extreme
that then you can't live up to even.
Right, exactly. Yeah, your brain just goes, that's not true.
Even true. Yeah, that's true. There is that, that pendulum swing, and really we want to kind of swing towards the center where we're kind to ourselves, we're nice to ourselves, but we're realistic.
Right.
And we have realistic expectations for ourselves as well.
100%. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for being here.
Thanks
and
for
we will direct people to your website and to your classes that you have going on.
Yeah.
They all sound really interesting and like very needed in this day and age in this culture. So
yes, so you can keep on going without burning out and hating your life. Right?
Yes. We don't want anyone
feel
to
good while you do good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We had a great morning here on Good Morning Akron. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got more great stuff coming up next.